was emotionally a mess. His father had just passed away in an automobile accident. His mother had passed away a couple of years before that of cancer. And being a young man of 20 and the only child of the family, he just didn't know what to do with himself. And to add all that, he was expected to take over the family winery business in Northern California. He just didn't know how to handle that. So his uncle took over the business for a while so that Orrin could go down to Southern California and chill out on the beaches and trying to get his head straight and figure out what to do. And that's the way it was. About a year later, his uncle gave him a call back to the family home and informed him that he would have to take over his birthright, as every generation had, to run the family winery now. And that his uncle had to go back to his own fields and tend them because they were needing his attention. So Orrin moved back home. And after he got in and settled in for a bit, he decided that he would go around the estate and check out what was now his. After going around and meeting the hands and checking out the fields and so on and so forth, he started wandering around the estate that he grew up on, and in areas that he was kind of not allowed to go into, and it never really occurred to him that there was anything to worry about. Well, as he went into this one area, he found a house. Well, actually it wasn't a house, but it was a building that was shaped like a house. And when he went in, he found a collection of old bottles that had been collecting dust, shelved nicely and everything else all around, but they were all empty. He recognized the bottles as being of a special blend that his family had developed and kept and opened on special occasions. None of the bottles had any labels on them. So he came across, all of a sudden, a brilliant idea. He would put together a special premium blend of wine to commemorate his mother and father's life. And he would use these bottles as the ones that they'd put in the wine in. And that's exactly what happened. He hired some teenagers from the local high school to come in, and they cleaned up the bottles and cleaned out the house as well, the area where they were. And then he called around and got all the information he could about making the best wine available that he could make where he were, off of his acreage. He even called up his uncle, not telling him what was going to happen with this, but he wanted to keep it a surprise. So he made this wine, and in time, the wine was done. They were bottled and corked and put back into racks to ferment, as is the custom. Also is the custom, every now and then someone would go in and they would turn these bottles so that the fermentation could continue and blend in and mix and such, and not get stagnant and therefore kind of go bad. But every time somebody went in to turn the bottles, they found several of them had burst and made a mess on the floor, which of course they cleaned up. But it became kind of a mystery to young Orrin. Finally, after time passed, there was only one bottle left. That is when Orrin frantically gave his uncle a call, thinking that maybe one of the employees had sabotaged the whole situation. His uncle shows up real quickly and starts asking questions around of the employees to find out what had happened. After a day or two, Orrin's uncle calls him into the house and calls him into the den and asked him where he had purchased the bottles that this wine was put into. That's when Oren told his uncle about the house he had found with all these dusty bottles and had them cleaned up and for this particular blend to be made. That's when the light went off in his uncle's eyes. And he informed Oren that those bottles were indeed of the family special blend, but that these were special bottles in that they were the first bottles opened up on any special family occasion like a wedding, an anniversary, or something like that. And they were kept as a reminder of those special events and stored in that building. Thus, the bottles were indeed special, but they were very old. Then he informed Oren of a thing that Oren had not even considered. That when wine is put into a bottle, it ferments. And when it ferments, it builds gases on the inside. And these gases get stronger and stronger. And if the bottle is not strong enough or built wrong, they will burst. Also, if the bottles are old and have gone through this process before, they no longer have the strength and they also will burst. And that is what it had happened. With that, the uncle picked up the last bottle, looked at Oren and said, "Thus, my young man, before this one breaks, let's open it up, toast your parents' life, and start the collection all over again." And thus it was so.